All right, I want to hear about Vietnam. Brian just
Yeah.
got back from 3 weeks in Vietnam, and we have not gotten to talk about that yet today.
It's the
So,
elephant in the room.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that you want to know about Vietnam or?
I mean, did you have a good time?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Vietnam is awesome. The people are super friendly. You know, it's a really interesting culture because their history over the last 100 years is just like bonkers. Like they were French, and then they're freed from the French, and then they had their civil war that the United States was involved with, and then they were communists for 10 years, and that just ended like in 1985. So it's like most people's parents actually lived through being communist and like, you know,
and through a civil war.
Yeah,
Both.
and through no, it's insane. So it's like a whole, like, if you think about like capitalism just starting 35 years ago, like that's kind of what's going on there. So it's madness. A lot of people are still like figuring out what's going on.
But there's a ton of opportunity.
They were like the fastest growing economy for like 10, like in the whole world, like 10 of the last 35 years. Yeah, because there's just, I mean, there's so much opportunity. Because the people are like super hardworking people. They just, you know, it's like everybody is out to start a business or, you know, do something to bring themselves or their family some income. And so it was really cool to see how everybody was kind of figuring it all out.
Who did you go with?
I went with my mom.
Don't you do that pretty regularly?
Yeah, so my mom is a big traveler. It was funny, like, I had never left the country until I was like 16 years old, and my grandpa wanted to give me a graduation present. So he, and it was my graduation present, but my mom had always wanted to go to Africa since she was a kid. And so we went to Africa for my graduation present. Yeah, which...
Hey, that beats the hell out of mine.
Yeah, no, certainly not complaining.
I actually I used the money I got from graduation to buy my first BMX bike, so that was important to me.
That's pretty
Probably
good.
the best
Yeah.
ever.
Africa sounds pretty sweet.
But yeah, so we went to Africa, which was absolutely insane. Like Kenya, Tanzania, it was nuts in Rwanda. Yeah, but those places are so much different than the United States, just completely.
Yeah.
But anyway, ever since then we've traveled like, you know, once a year, every other year we go to some crazy place. You know, it's great for me to be able to just kind of ride along through this journey of her wanting to travel everywhere. So it's been cool.
So tell us a little bit about Vietnam, because we've never been.
Stuff did you do?
Yeah, so Vietnam is, you know, it's nuts. It's crazy because, well, so many things. Like the driving, you know, everybody always likes to talk about the driving. The driving in Vietnam is insane. I would say like 90% of the vehicles on the road are Vespas. Like they're not allowed to have motorcycles over like 100 cc or something. So everybody's literally driving a Vespa or a motorcycle that's actually a Vespa, but it looks kind of like a motorcycle. Yeah.
They do that where they make them look cool, but then put 100 cc.
100 cc more. Yeah. So that's what everybody, like 90% of people are on that. It's really interesting because 90% of people are driving those. Then there's like there's 100% tax on cars. Like if you want to drive an actual vehicle, it costs double. Plus, you have to import it from somewhere. So, like, you want to buy a crappy $2,000 car from the U.S., you pay $2,000 for the car, another $2,000 at least to get it to Vietnam.
Whoa.
Then you pay another $2,000 on top of that for the tax. So you've got a $6,000 crappy car in an economy where people are making, like, on average $200 a month. And so there's nobody that buys crappy cars. So you have 90% of the economy driving Vespas, and then the other 10% are like Porsches and Mercedes and like super nice cars. And then you have the taxis that are like the tourist taxis that are like SUVs, like RAV4s or
Like what you guys
4Runner. Yeah, what we were in most of the time.
I'm surprised you didn't go for a Vespa.
No, I
want to go
certainly
to
did.
Vietnam and specifically rent a Vespa the whole time.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that's such a cliche to rent a motorcycle and drive the length of Vietnam.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun.
You've got to do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it would be awesome.
It's cliche because it
No,
sounds
I mean,
awesome.
my mom is not trying to ride a Vespa the length of Vietnam. That was not her agenda on the trip. So, we had a nice, we had a car. We rented a Vespa for a day and cruised around in it. But so, yeah, the driving is nuts.
One Vespa, or you each had your own?
Oh, one Vespa.
That's my favorite.
No. So
who rode on the back?
One Vespa.
I need to know this.
I'm clearly the driver.
Oh.
So no. It's crazy because each family typically has one Vespa. So it's super common to see the father driving, 2 kids in the center, and the mom on the back of the Vespa.
Wow.
4 people loaded up. Like, super common.
I think we've all seen the photos, and even more so where they're like holding 98 pounds of shit.
Yeah, they've got 8 4x8 sheets of plywood on their Vespa somehow.
Yep. No, I mean, we saw like all sorts from stuff like that to the biggest. There are 2 things that I got a really big kick out of as far as the Vespas go. So the first thing was, so rather than since nobody has cars, they build trailers for their Vespas. So they'll have a trailer filled up with brick, and it's 4 feet by 6 feet by 2 feet tall of brick. Yeah, cruising, or they'll be going downhill 55 miles an hour.
Oh my god.
Yeah, right, with a trailer full of brick. And
what?
And that's but nobody's concerned about it. Nobody's worried about it. It's awesome. But the second that
what
was
kind of brakes do you have on your Vespa?
right. No,
I can't imagine.
They've got a huge runway at the end of slow down. Yeah, so that's really fun. And then when they cut down trees, because they've got tons of vegetation down there. So when they cut down trees, they just tie the tree to the back of the Vespa and then drag it through the streets like that. So there's a 30-foot tree dragging behind this guy's Vespa as he's shooting down the road. It was.
Is he going to build somebody's house with that, or?
I don't know. It's hard to say. They're doing a lot of clearing, to make more room for crops and stuff like that. So, but really, yeah, they've cut down a ton of trees for both building their houses and for clearing for food. But yeah, hilarious watching some guy drive his Vespa 30 feet of tree, just so he takes a corner and it hits the house to knock the tree over to get out. It's so funny. But the people there,
people standing on sidewalks, just
jump roping,
getting out of the way. Yeah, pretty jump roping,
it.
right? Whatever. I mean, it's just kind of whatever needs to happen happens. It's I got to get my tree from point A to point B, so this is the only option. Yeah.
I love that. It feels so wild, wild west.
It is. It's so much like every part of it is it's kind of I feel like us as BMXers kind of take that approach to anything. It's you need to get something done, so you do it, whatever it takes.
Yeah, that pallet's basically a landing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And they're just doing that with their whole, economy.
I love it. I really want to go travel a bunch of countries kind of over in Asia.
Yeah.
Dylan went to Colombia, and that sounds awesome.
Well, the Philippines is kind of what I think of it.
That's a big stop for me.
Somewhat similar as
yeah.
I think cars were more common, but in the countryside there were Vespas a lot. But then there's these shacks, it's a 4x8 foot shack, smaller than the size of this room, with metal siding and whatever. And it's the house of some guy, but he has a satellite dish on top of it, so we can watch TV.
Yeah,
dude, gotta get that soccer game, dude. World Cup's not gonna watch itself.
Actually, in Philippines, it's basketball.
What?
Really? Basketball?
Of all of the countries, Philippines.
Yeah, I don't know if there's many professional players.
There
because
can't be any.
Kind of smaller.
Yeah.
But yeah,
wow.
Basketball. They probably have their own leagues and stuff too. But yeah, basketball.
We should all go be professional.
That's interesting.
Filipino basketball players.
Filipino though, so and
yeah.
basketball.
But
that's true.
But, so yeah, was there things like that you noticed?
Yeah, so I guess it was really interesting because they've done an incredible. They've really for when at the same time you have people dragging around their trees with Vespas, everybody's got a cell phone with the internet. You know, it's like they're very well. There's like power everywhere, and it like fairly reliable power as far as I could tell. And like for me, I got an internet package on my phone, right? Like I got a SIM card when I was there. It was like $6 for 60 gigabytes for 30 days.
Suck it, Verizon.
Jesus.
I know. I mean, I couldn't believe it, and that included some talk and text too. But 60 gigabytes.
Never texted me back.
For $6. Yeah. Well, sorry, bud. you didn't have my Vietnamese phone number.
Exactly. But you lost your phone, you said.
No, I was just teasing. I don't think I actually texted him.
No, and I did. My phone, it was such a bummer. So we were going on this boat trip in Ninh Bình. Highly recommend Ninh Bình. It's like these really cool, super steep mountains. Like they're like little cones kind of sticking out of the ground almost. And there's just like this really nice, quaint river that goes through it all. And so they don't allow any motorboats on the river. So it's like a hand paddle. They got all the local people, like they buy a boat and then they get a boat there. And then, I mean, it's fairly touristy because it's so awesome. But you like go and you get on their boat, and then like one of the local people paddles you out through this section. And it's like a 2-hour long trip. And, you know, on a little boat, it's like there's like max of 5 people on the boat or whatever.
Oh, wow. So a real small boat.
Yeah, real small. It's funny because it's a max of 5 people for foreigners, but like 10 people if you're Vietnamese. They actually like make that differentiation. If you want 10 people and you're Vietnamese, you can do that, but only 5 foreigners are allowed.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so... Well, Vietnamese people are also about half the size of me.
One, they're used to driving a 4x8 sheet of plywood on their Vespa versus we're like... I feel kind of cramped in the Escape, so I'm going to go ahead and get the Escalade.
The Escalade.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. But so we get on the boat. Like, forecast looks pretty good. It's a little cloudy. We get on the boat, and I'm, like, taking these pictures because it's an incredible scenery, just gorgeous. And I'm, like, taking pictures. And then you can, like, hear this rumbling in the distance, and then it's getting closer and closer and closer, and then it just starts monsooning. Like, so much rain. I couldn't believe it. So, like, put my phone in my rain jacket. I'm like, well, I hope that's good enough, you know. And then, of course, at some point, I had to take a picture of whatever it was. So I got my phone out, took a quick picture when the rain had kind of slowed down. But it basically monsooned for 2 hours nonstop while we're on this boat with no cover. So the only time, like, we would go through these caves, these really cool caves. And so there's no rain.
Awesome.
It was incredible. And it was like, it's so reasonable. It was like a $10 boat ride.
Yeah.
And it wasn't filling with water during this monsoon, or were they?
Yeah, no, he had a bucket where he was dumping.
So the guy who's paddling is also bailing.
Paddling and also bailing the water out. Yeah, at the same time.
I feel like as a crew member, you could have offered your services as a
I didn't even really realize because I was at the front. I was like in the front seat looking for, and it's not like you can move a lot because the boat moves a lot. Yeah. So you got to be careful. But yeah, and
excuses, Banghart.
Right?
Excuses.
No, should have moved to the back. But yeah, so it was awesome. I got some great photos, but then my phone absorbed a lot of moisture. And so I didn't have a phone for the rest of the trip. That was like day 4 of the trip.
Were you able to save the photos?
I got those photos. Yeah, those photos all uploaded to the cloud or whatever. But yeah, so I used my mom's phone on and off, and then my camera. And eventually, my phone turned back on about 7 days later. Phone came back on, but the camera was toast. Yeah, didn't work anymore.
That's awesome. That sounds like such a cool trip. I really like. So Allie and I just missed a trip to go to Mexico, and we have chosen to look at this as a real blessing because we want to go to like the Philippines or to we've been looking at the Galapagos or just some different places that we would normally never go to because we were just going to go to Mexico for a wedding, which the wedding would have been awesome, but we've been to Mexico. Like, I'm kind of over that. So now it's kind of an opportunity, carte blanche, to just go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the people in Vietnam were so friendly. It was incredible. Like, everybody's super friendly. People, like, park their motorcycle downtown with the keys in it. Just, like, not even worried about no theft, nothing like that. I feel like
that's, like, an Asian culture thing. My stepsister lived in Japan, and she's like, I never once saw a bike lock.
Yeah.
Everyone there commutes on bike, and not once did she see a bike lock.
That's pretty cool.
Versus we locked our bikes in Australia, and they still got stolen.
Right. Yeah, no, but it's interesting. That's a big difference between, like, Mexico and Vietnam is, like, people in Vietnam are super stoked to have tourists and just, like, in general, really excited about that, where I feel like people in Mexico are a little burnt out on...
Yeah, I would be.
I mean, when we talk about this wall, like, constantly, like, of course you're gonna get sick of us.
There's just a lot of tension there.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. So no, that was awesome. Let's see.
I've heard the food is unbelievable there.
It's really interesting. So the north and the south of Vietnam are completely different places.
Really?
Like they had. Well, it was a civil war that the U.S. got involved with,
obviously.
And they still maintain a pretty heavy, I'm North Vietnamese or I'm South. Yeah, I didn't either. But, you know, when you talk to some of the people from North Vietnam, they're like, I'm not going to the South. Like, I don't like. We talked to one of our tour guides was like, she had been to Cambodia, she'd been to Thailand, she'd been to Japan. She's like, I won't go to North Vietnam. Those people aren't very nice. I'm like,
whoa.
That's crazy because they are. You should meet them.
I was just hanging out with them.
I was just there.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're almost the same as you, it turns out.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
No, it was really interesting. But so the food is different as well. So like in North Vietnam, it's all like super local. Everybody's got a garden. Like most of the places that you stay, they go to the market, they buy onions, bell peppers, some bamboo shoots, lemongrass, and then they'll cook it with whatever meat you want and add a little bit of salt and pepper. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second.
Yes, I knew it.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it's super simple food. It's all like you can go out to your garden, pick the food, and then make it in your kitchen. Like it's very straightforward. Whereas in South Vietnam, it's a little bit more crazy. Like they've got like, some more interesting curries, a lot more spice, like a lot more going on in the food. I would say it was much tastier, but my stomach agreed much more with the stuff of North Vietnam that just came, straight out of the garden. But the food, it was incredible. Like I've never been so happy to eat. Like I feel like on some trips, like I'm like, 2 weeks into the trip, I'm like, I could really use a piece of pizza or a hamburger or something to kind of bridge this gap. But in Vietnam, it was like I was having pho every morning for breakfast, and throughout the rest, I never.
I think it's a hearty breakfast. I'll carry you through most of the day.
Yeah, no, it's that's what they eat. Pho is actually not a dinner item in Vietnam. They don't have pho. They think you're ridiculous if you want pho for dinner in Vietnam.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a breakfast item.
I'm just not the biggest fan of soups.
I'm not either. I really don't like it. But like in the morning, it's kind of nice because it's like not super aggressive. It's like nice and easy to eat and warm and.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yes.
That's something I'm getting a lot better at as an adult. I was a very picky eater as a kid. Now as an adult, I learned this from my friend Nicole. You have to at least take a no thank you bite. You have to at least take a bite to really be like, honestly, no thank you. Like there's no getting out of the no thank you bite now, for me anyways, where I'm like... I've had people make homemade meals where I know I don't like any of the ingredients, and I'm just like, you're gonna at least try it. And sometimes it's amazing, and I'm like, just pretend you don't know what's in this, because this is delicious. So I feel like that's such a cool experience to go eat pho in the morning. And what was like the craziest thing you ate out there?
I don't think I really ate too crazy stuff. We had like some duck and. So the really interesting thing about Vietnam, in 1985 they were still communist. They were still a communist country, and that was when the communism all kind of fell to pieces and they were kind of becoming capitalist. And that's basically because there wasn't enough food to feed all the people. Mm-hmm. And so that's why Vietnamese people eat everything. Like they literally eat everything. Dogs, cats, animals. So I asked my guide one time, I was like, what's your favorite food? What do you really like? Because he'd been telling me about all the different crazy stuff that they eat. And he's like, there's this eel that grows only in the rice fields. He's like, it's so good. I'm like, you are out your mind. I would not, like, an eel in a rice field is, and then so we're driving down the road a little bit after that, and there's like a bucket, like a gallon and a half bucket, literally completely full with eels, and they're all still alive in there. Like, you can see them moving around, but they're like, there's literally, you couldn't squish another eel into there.
Oh my God.
He's like, that's it, that's the eel. They're like, you want to get some? I'm like, no way am I eating rice field eel. Like, oh.
Do they just bite into it, like, or is it like you cook it?
I think I don't know about the eel specifically, but then we were talking about they have like a lot of really nice silk stuff there, and they're like, oh yeah, we get the silkworm, we make the silk, this is how we draw it out, and then you eat the silkworm. The silkworms are delicious, and I'm like, you eat the silkworm? Why would you eat the silkworm?
Did you try one?
No, it wasn't like an offer. But I certainly would not have tried a silkworm.
You wouldn't have at least taken a no thank you bite of a silkworm in their own country?
I probably would have. But I certainly have lines. Like, I'm not going to eat dog.
I probably
So by the time this airs, I'll probably be very close to being in China. And I'm, like, I haven't really thought much about it, but there's going to be, like, because, like you say, the no thank you, I'm not great at saying, like, especially with the friend I'm going with, we're not real good at saying no. We kind of just
you two together is a real concoction.
And so
is this Alex? Yeah.
Yeah. And so the amount of gross stuff that we're probably going to, because, like,
it's probably
I have to prove
delicious.
that I'm better than him. Like, I mean, it's the same competition that Gavin and I have of, like, who will go the farthest? Like, who will eat that silkworm? Who will eat that eel? And if I can, I mean, he's going for the X Games, so if I can prove that I'm
gnarlier in any way
than this X Games dude by eating this stupid eel, then I'm gonna have to do it, and I'm probably gonna get real sick many times.
Your body is like a microchip. If a grain of sand gets into the microchip, it crashes for sure. No, so I'm curious.
My stomach is fairly strong. Like, especially, I've learned to take care of it and eat the right supplements and probiotics. Like,
I feel like that was
Colombia, I was totally good. We were eating street food and that nothing happened. Philippines, I never got sick. I got destroyed otherwise, but
other than an arm infection, you were good to go.
Yeah,
right.
The stomach was
trip to the hospital. Yeah. Dude. No, I mean, Vietnam was like, the food was, I didn't get sick at all. It was, but so they do have like dog restaurants. So they've really westernized as far as the food goes, but they still keep their roots. Like they'll have, like in the country you can buy the rice field eels or the silkworms probably, but they also have like a dog restaurant where you can go and get
McDoggles.
What's the logo for the dog restaurant? Is there literally a puppy on the
Who knows, man? Cover? Probably. They weren't like ashamed of it.
I don't think that they're.
It's part of the culture. I
just heard a very interesting and compelling argument that I'm not going to get into for like Americans adopting that culture of like, if it's food, it's food. Let's just go for it, because there's so much food waste in America, and there's so many like
but I don't think that helps food waste by eating
dogs. No. So the idea is you have to produce less food because like there's all these like kill shelters and stuff. It's a pretty wild argument, but we won't get into it.
Okay,
that's probably, we don't want that one.
It's an interesting argument. This is the wrong podcast to listen to if you want to get into it, but it is an interesting argument.